Catus Maximus here. I have a 6-month review of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Active. I upgraded from a Galaxy S6, which is what this video is currently being recorded on, and I was pretty happy with the upgrade. I like the larger screen, even though when you play videos there's going to be black bars on each side of the phone. You can zoom in on the video to fill up the whole screen, but you lose a little bit of the top and the bottom. Otherwise, when you're browsing the web and doing general tasks on the phone, it's really nice to have the extra real estate. I like the active version and its waterproofing and the military specification durability. The phone is pretty nicely designed where it has nice beveled edges. It has metal buttons. If I can get this phone to focus, no. It has these nice rubber bumpers or plastic bumpers, although the screws, I believe, just hold on the bumper. They're not there to hold on any portion of the case. And it has a plastic back with a kind of an anti-slip finish, although it's not particularly aggressive. I've been enjoying this phone's performance, although I will have to say that the camera does have better low light performance. It was a little bit disappointing to lose the resolution over the 16 megapixels on the Galaxy S6. And in daylight, you really do notice those extra pixels and the extra detail. But anytime it's dark or indoors, then I believe the S8 does indeed perform better. The S8 also has it does have a glass screen, but it turns out that there is a plastic layer over the glass screen. And if you look really close under just the right kind of light, you can just make out around the ear speaker that extra layer of plastic. Unfortunately, that means it's very scratch prone. And so I put on a cheap glass screen protector to help out with that. I've been using the iris scanner to unlock it, and it actually works surprisingly fast and is very consistent. It just doesn't like it when it's really bright outside, so occasionally you have to type in the password if it's sunny outside. Otherwise, if you're in the shade or pretty much in a car or anywhere else, it's going to work out pretty well. Unfortunately, with the fingerprint sensor on the back, I basically never use it because it's just too easy to get big smudges on the camera. One of the other things I've noticed is that there's about a 3 to 5 thousandths gap, maybe about the thickness of a sheet of copy paper, between the frame and the glass, as well as around the plastic back. And I've noticed that fine particles tend to want to build up and become unsightly around that. And you pretty much have to use a sewing needle. It needs to be that sharp in order to get in that little groove and get that junk out. But dust will build up in there, and against the black background you really do notice the lighter colored dust. I do like the touch sensitive or the pressure sensitive home key. I think that's an interesting effect. It would have been nice if they had pressure sensitivity over the whole screen, because that could have helped with various applications. This phone also does have the capability to accept Microsd expandable memory, which I do like, although the slot, you have to sandwich both the SIM card and the memory card on top of each other, and they barely hold in there, so it's a little finicky getting the tray in with two little microscopic cards on it. One of the other nice aspects is the 4000 milliamp hour battery, or 4 amp hour at 3.7 volts is quite a bit of energy for a cell phone battery, and this truly does last all day. It is one of the biggest selling points, is having a nice long-lasting battery. I'll go back to talking about the durability. I do have a case for this because I don't like getting the metal edge and everything dinged up when it gets dropped. But it's fallen a few times already in its case and never any kind of issue. The camera works pretty well, and focus is really fast. I do need to mention that. It is super fast focusing, and on still photographs at night, the low-level performance is just fine. It's much better than most cameras that are just a few years old. One thing I have noticed is that the video performance doesn't seem to be quite the same as the still shot performance. I did not get the expected additional ISO or low light sensitivity when running in video, as you might think, over a Galaxy S6 being 2 full generations. And what seems to be apparent is that they're starting to reach their limits. There's not as much technology for them to put into the phones as dramatically as they've been in the past. So each upgrade of the phone is not as significant as the previous year's upgrades, i.e. this phone, even though it's 2 generations newer than the Galaxy S6, is not like it's 4 times faster. Maybe it's twice as fast. Where the difference between a Galaxy S6 and a Galaxy S4 was huge. So it seems that you're inevitably getting diminishing returns off these phones. To tell you the truth, if this had continued with the camera on the same pace, I'd be expecting 25 or even a 30 megapixel camera. Instead, we're at 12 megapixels with good low light, but it still is a little frustrating. I'll have to say that the autofocus front-facing camera is pretty good, and that's a nice feature to have. It's 8 megapixels, so it's plenty of resolution. One thing that I do like is that there is a dual camera mode where it will show you a small outline of the front-facing camera, and then the rest of the screen will be the rear-facing camera. So it looked like it would be pretty handy for video blogging and that kind of stuff. I guess the last things to mention is the speaker is pretty loud, but it's still just a single speaker. And obviously, being a cell phone speaker, it's tinny, although it works pretty well. It also has USB-C, which is the round USB that doesn't have a direction. And I've been liking that a lot, because you don't have to really fiddle around with the wires as much. You can just plug it in and not have to worry about whether or not your plug is upside down. The biggest thing somebody would notice about this phone is its physical size. As compared to a Galaxy S6, it's going to be a 1/4 inch wider, a 1/2 inch taller, and twice as thick. It's basically twice as thick as a Galaxy S6, not including the camera bump. But the Galaxy S6 was truly a thin phone. And this is much thicker. It's much heftier. The screen has a nice recessed bezel around it, or it's recessed with a raised bezel. I put on the glass screen protector, so it sits pretty much flush with the face of the phone, and I like that as well. Well, that's my basic review of the Galaxy S8 Active.